Learning a language on your own is a complex task. Most people who start fail, but is there a way that will raise your odds of success? When I was starting my journey with languages, I didn't know it would be that hard. I spent endless hours trying to master the basics of Russian, but I didn't see any progress at all. After months of struggling, I started noticing things that have made my learning easier. Today, I will show you 4 tips that I think are essential in learning a language on your own. I have utilized them in my daily routine, and their effects on my progress are greater than I could ever think of. Before we dive into the tips, there is a handful of info which will be important right at the beginning of your journey in a new language. Reflect on your goals. Maybe it's just the conversational skills which will be helpful while traveling, maybe more academic language because your dream is to study in a foreign country. Setting proper goals protects you from getting bored and burnout as you will exactly know what you want to learn and focus only on essentials. Try to structure your own plan. Remember to include every aspect of a language: reading, listening, vocab, grammar, and so on. Don't be afraid to speak right from the beginning. Waiting for an abstract moment when you will tell yourself, "I'm ready," is not worthwhile. But these are only starter things you should know. They will properly structure your mentality and approach towards the language, but the next tips I'm going to reveal to you will be responsible for boosting your gains and making learning more effective. Use many resources which are right for you. Nowadays, in the era of technology, language learning is easier than ever before. We are surrounded by unlimited resources which are within our hands. Imagine this. Jake and John want to learn a language, but they have completely different methods. John prefers sticking to one book and learning from it. He thinks this way of learning is the best. Jake loves technology and exploring new things. That's why he prefers apps and other resources he can find online. He doesn't limit himself to only one resource. He uses the most of them, and that's why in most cases he knows the language better than John. You can be like Jake too. Just grab your smartphone and you're ready to go. No matter if you're using Android or iOS, there are endless possibilities for you. The apps, mobile courses, and so on. Now, what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to pick only one app or course which you think is cool. Don't limit yourself. Every app is different. They have advantages as well as drawbacks. So I don't pick as many as possible to have the biggest benefits and gains. I did with Russian. I bought myself an internet course, but besides that, I utilized an app with flashcards and I read tons of stories which were available for free on the internet. And when there was a hard grammar concept, I simply googled it and read lots about it. I really recommend using some kind of a language learning app. The one that I used with Russian or German was Vortique. It helped me with my vocab, which couldn't stick with me. Thanks to the app, I have no problems with remembering anything at all. Practice regularly. With every skill, one fact stays the same. When something is not done the proper amount of times in a specific period, we simply don't get results. Have you ever tried to learn to play an instrument? Or tried to stay fit and practice regularly? If you don't hit the gym often and regularly, 2 things happen. First, you don't get as fit as you probably wanted. Second, you won't build the habit of going there. Let's say you have Jake and John once again. They both have a goal of looking better. Jake goes to the gym regularly, 3 times a week. John, on the other hand, goes there when he feels so. After a year, we can see differences between them. Jake now has an athletic body and is very fit and still motivated to get back to the gym to continue training. John's body didn't change much, as well as his motivation had been lost some time ago. And how does it apply to language learning? If you don't stay in touch with a tongue, you won't learn it. You have to regularly learn words, grammar, listen, read and write. Doing it occasionally won't give you the progress you certainly expect. Of course, don't get me wrong, you don't have to spend 5 hours per day studying. The message I'm trying to convey is, do something in a language, but don't overwhelm yourself. Try to do anything with a language during the day. It could be even as simple as reading one news article or revising 5 words. Emails. Have you ever wondered how children get to know their first language? They don't do that by sitting countless hours and cramming up some useless grammar tables or vocab. They are surrounded by the language. Everybody speaks it, the only way to be understood is to use it too. And when a child speaks, when it makes a mistake, people around correct it, and that's how it learns. Knowing that the way adults study is not so effective in comparison with immersion, why not try it? It would look a little bit different from the immersion we get when we are young. That's because we mostly cannot afford this type of full dive into the tongue. But we can do, let's say, a cheap version of it. How can we achieve it? It's simple. Just surround yourself with books, texts, podcasts, films in your target language. Try to sing in it. It's worth speaking in it, for example at home, naming the activities or things around. And engaging in mini dialogues isn't a bad idea either, even when you will have to do it alone. Using only this tongue will force your brain to stay in this constant state of learning, of subconsciously marking little things, which later results in your better knowledge. I don't know whether you've had this thing or not, but during my adventure with German, after having immersed myself for some time, I could easily, without noticing, say phrases and forms I hadn't ever learned. I had just heard them or read them before, but they stuck with me and I remember them to this day. Monitor progress. Climbing up a mountain would be a very hard and unrewarding task, as we can't see the peak. Because how can you see any progress if you don't have any reference points, right? You would quickly get unmotivated and wouldn't achieve your goal. That's why, even in terms of language learning, it's important to constantly monitor your progress. How many words you've learned, stories you've read, and so on. Some apps measure it on their own, so you don't have to spend time on it. Knowing at which level you currently are will inform you about the journey which is behind and ahead of you. So the possibility of getting discouraged is lower. There you have it. Tips for learning a language on your own. Utilizing all of them will help you to get results faster and more effectively than learning it in a class. If you're interested in the topic of fast learning of future languages in 2024, check our videos on that topic. Want more language content? Smash that like button and subscribe for more tips. Remember to share your opinion and don't shy away from asking questions. See you next time.